to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council to introduce themselves, so I go front right.
Ellen Zappo.
Rich Private Council.
Eric Carlson.
Mary Fortier.
Calvin Brown.
Philip Teresa.
And I'm Mayor Ken Kane. Councilman Martin was unable to make tonight's meeting. Item number, moment of silence for troops on active duty. Thank you. Item number 2.
Approval of minutes of the regular City Council meeting on August 13th, 2014, and the special City Council meeting and public hearing on July 30th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3.
Public participation.
Sean rules. Sean, I think I'm just going to start putting you on the agenda.
Do I get more than 3 minutes that way?
No.
I'm speaking for all the public. Got to be worth something. I wanted to propose actually that we, when we do the pledge, that somebody actually leads the pledge, because we always seem to trail off at the beginning. I'm not sure everyone knows what we're pledging allegiance to. Tonight is an anniversary of a few things I wanted to bring up. One thing I wanted to mention, in Newington, does anybody know what's going on in Newington tonight?
No.
They're having a public referendum. They're spending $30 million of the public money, and the town supports the referendum, which I think is an excellent thing. They're going to build a community center, which would benefit everybody in the community, not just the select few. I thought that was kind of interesting. Also, in 1776, the Congress renamed the nation the United States of America for the first time. 1792, Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to George Washington, basically defending himself. He was attacked anonymously in some publications. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers, were written by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, John Jay. Well, I don't want to get too far into it, but under an array of different pseudonyms. And basically, I did a little bit of research on that after I read that letter pertaining to the date, because this month is also the anniversary of a date where I came to City Council meeting, and there was a member on that side who happened to point a finger at Steve Collins and said, "You, Steve Collins, you talk to your owner and you tell him we don't want anybody saying anything bad about Bristol. We're spending the public's money." Or he didn't say public's money. But I thought that was a little bit ridiculous. I mean, to attack anonymous free speech, I mean, this is part of the foundation of our country. And it really led me to start digging into some of the details. And I found that a lot of times when speech was being limited by members of the city and certain stakeholders, it all had to do with some redevelopment that was going on. And promoting the city should be done to the people of the city, not just people outside the city. So if you have people in the city that don't like what's going on, that doesn't mean you try to shut them up. You know, that's what motivated me to start coming and speaking at these meetings. And you can see, if you look at the history of Supreme Court cases, anonymous free speech has been protected in many different cases. Lowell versus Griffin in 1938. You have Talley versus California in 1960. You have McIntyre versus Ohio Elections Committee in 1988. And so on and so forth. But basically, one of the decisions said, protections of anonymous speech are vital to democratic discourse. Allowing dissenters to shield their identities frees them to express critical minority views. Anonymity is a shield from the tyranny of the majority. It thus exemplifies the purpose behind the Bill of Rights and of the First Amendment in particular, to protect unpopular individuals from retaliation at the hand of an intolerant society. And I found myself in some of the same positions that some of our forefathers found themselves in. And it doesn't seem like I have the piece of paper here. in regard to exactly what it was. All right. Well, basically, let me just cut then to the plan of conservation and development, which is much different than it ever was before. There's changes. If you look at the state plan, you can look at the differences, and it's actually outlined. Public Act 05-205, 08-182, 09-230, 10-138, and 14-35 are all changes to the way that we do development now. And basically, my concern is the voices of certain people, stakeholders that are backers of this plan, which the free market has rejected. We've had Goldman in York come and say that it's not financially feasible, which most people already knew. And they just seem to press on with this willingness to move forward regardless. And it's too bad. I guess I'll get to the rest of it next time around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have for public participation. Announcements starting on far right.
Can you start on your far left?
Sure. Okay. I do have a couple. First, on behalf of the library, I'd like to let everybody know that the Bristol Public Library has resumed Saturday hours this past week. The main library is open 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and the Manross Library is open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the Bristol History Room will also be open 4 Saturdays this fall between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. on September 20th, October 18th, November 15th, and December 13th. On behalf of Chief Grimaldi and the Police Department, I would like to let everybody know that the 46th Annual Mummathon 5K is going to be taking place on Saturday, October 4th at 8:30 a.m. If you'd like to learn more about 5K or you'd like to sign up, you can go to signmeup.com. All the information will be there. October 2nd is going to be an interesting day for the city of Bristol. I'm not sure how many of you know this, but October will be Manufacturing Month in the state of Connecticut. October 3rd is National Manufacturing Day. The first Friday in October is usually National Manufacturing Day, which is just a way to celebrate the country's roots in industry and all that manufacturing and innovation has done for our economy, especially here in the state of Connecticut. So if anybody's interested, on October 2nd at Bristol Central High School, they'll be showing the movie Made in America to have an understanding of some of the great industry and innovation of our time. I suppose the student program will be taking place in the morning, but there will be an open program to view the movie at Bristol Central High School starting at 6:30 p.m. Again, that's Thursday, October 2nd, Made in America movie at Bristol Central High School at 6:30 p.m. And lastly, I'd like to let everybody know that Councilor Zappo, Councilor Fortier, and myself held our second round of open office hours this past Saturday. We were at the Manross Memorial Library from noon to a little bit after 2 p.m. And we met with about 10 members of the public, I believe, that came out to talk to us about a bunch of different issues, from downtown to some of the code enforcement issues that Councilor Zappo and the Code Enforcement Committee have been talking about, to the homelessness issue that we've all talked about before. It was really a great conversation. We like doing this sort of thing because it gives us a chance to stay in touch with our constituents, and it gives our constituents to come out on a Saturday when, you know, conceivably they have more free time. We know how hard it can be for people to make public meetings. The people in this room, obviously, thank you for coming, but we all know that it can be very hard to make these meetings on an evening, a weekday evening. So holding office hours on the weekend is a good way to meet the needs of our constituents and be able to hear what they have to say. So we had a great turnout, a lovely conversation, and we look forward to doing it again for sure. And that's it for me.
Kelvin, I have a question. On the 5K, can you walk it or do you have to run it?
you can just show up, your smiling face is going to help it, I tell you. Everybody's welcome.
Councilwoman?
Yes, I just have a general announcement. I was thinking about this today, and I realized the season of festivals is upon us. I wanted to thank the West End Association for starting our season off right here in Bristol with their Rockwell Park Summer Festival, which was well attended and a tremendous success this year. This coming weekend, we have both the Polish Festival and the Flavored Food Fest here in downtown Bristol. And in only a couple of weeks, we have the 53rd Annual Mum Festival, and with too many individual events to mention here, which Calvin already mentioned. So I just want to make sure people participate in everything we have coming up. Thanks.
I have one announcement for a fundraiser at Gloria Dei Church, Italian dinner, September 20th, 4 to 7 p.m., and it's to raise money for a young man named Jake Small, who's 6 years old. He suffers from spinal muscular atrophy, and we're raising money to get him a wheelchair-accessible van. For tickets, $15. I do have some for any council members who need them, and otherwise call the church at 582-0629.
Mary, just know my thing about the Polish festival. That's okay, and the food is terrific, so if you have a chance, call.
You can blame Ellen, because otherwise the announcements would have come from your side. You would have come here.
Councilwoman?
I'm going to continue the theme about festivals. Now that we're all off the summer schedule, there are quite a few interesting things happening. I think the Mum Festival, obviously, is a staple in the community, and I just wanted to thank all the volunteers who make that possible. It's actually a year-round planning, and I'm looking forward to it at the end of the month. The big announcement from the nonprofit community is that one nonprofit is actually helping another nonprofit, and for those of you who may not have seen the news, the Witch's Dungeon, which is a staple for Halloween activities in town and actually regionally, is now going to be housed for this year at the Historical Society in order for them to keep their continuity running. And we are looking forward to welcoming there. I think it's a great space for them, and I think that it will hopefully bring more people downtown and hopefully taking advantage of everything else that's downtown as opposed to the trek up to Chippins Hill. We also had another partnership with some nonprofits which are doing a lot of great work in town, and I wanted to call attention For Goodness Sake, which was a nonprofit that actually came to the Real Estate Committee tonight looking for some temporary space. They take in donations, home goods, to help people who have been displaced either by fire, unfortunately due to some code enforcement issues, homelessness, etc. And they're now having fiscal sponsorship through the Main Street Community Foundation, which is enabling them to do charitable donations. And they're having a fundraiser in November to help them continue their mission of helping people who need any items in order to either start up a household or to replace. So I have information on that as well. We also have an organization in town that's not well known, but for those of you who do follow the nonprofit community, the Charity Cycling Challenge is a small group of volunteers who organize the cycling challenge every year in March, but in the fall they do a fundraiser for, this year it's Connecticut Breast Health Initiative for breast cancer awareness, and they are having a wine tasting at the end of this month, and I have tickets for that as well. And what I like about Charity Cycling Challenge is they actually raise money for all small groups. So if you have a particular cause, you can actually form a team and raise money for breast cancer awareness or MS or a specific cause, and all of that money, 100% of it, goes directly to that charity. So it's a great way to get people together, especially if there's something close to your heart in terms of what you'd like to raise money for. Just another thread in our nonprofit community that I don't think gets talked about enough, but really does a phenomenal job. In terms of the West End Association, we also have a fundraiser coming up for them in October where they're splitting their funds to benefit the programs at Indian Rock as well as their Veterans Rehousing Program. And we have tickets for that as well. They're meeting tomorrow night, as is the Forceville Village Association. So as you can tell, the calendar is very full for things that are happening this week. So I think that that might be it for my announcements.
Thank you. I have a few. First, I'll start with a proclamation. Get Ready Capital Region Preparedness Awareness Month in Bristol, Connecticut. Whereas, in the past decade, Bristol and surrounding towns have been affected by natural and man-made hazards and disasters. And whereas, in the event of a disaster, it can take local authorities up to 48 hours or longer to reach individuals and family. And whereas, being prepared in an emergency can be the difference between surviving and recovering. And whereas, members of the Bristol Police, Fire, EMS, and Public Health Departments have been part of this process by attending Capital Regional Emergency Planning Council meetings. And whereas, the Get Ready Capital Region campaign is a regional emergency preparedness effort serving all of the 41 communities in the Division of Emergency Management Homeland Security Region 3. Featuring a robust website, www.getreadycapitalregion.org, with useful multilingual information and downloadable resources on awareness, planning, and preparation for next disaster. And whereas the campaign has utilized social media like Facebook and Twitter to keep residents challenged and informed, and a growing coalition of stakeholders and partners in the region who are working together to promote emergency preparedness. Now, therefore, I, Kenneth Cockayne, Mayor of City of Bristol, take great pleasure in declaring September 2014 National Preparedness Month. I want to thank all of those services for their commitment to the community and recognize them today. My next announcement is on Tuesday, September 16th, we will be having a special joint meeting between the City Council and the Bristol Downtown Development Corporation. This meeting will have a presentation by Renaissance Downtown, as well as public input. We will have Gorman and York here, as well as Renaissance to discuss the plans. So I urge you to come. This is at 6 p.m. next Tuesday, September 16th. And then the last thing I'd like to announce is the Mum Festival, which was talked about earlier. I will be going in the dunk tank for those of you who want to take a shot at me. I did it last year. It was a lot of fun. My son was the first one in line, and I think he got in line a few times. So it's the money raised will go to charity. So if you want to get me, now's your time. That's all I have.
We need a location.
At the Mum Festival. Councilman Zappel's going to be fighting my son for first in line. Councilman Woolman, I said. Okay, reports. Any committee reports starting my left?
None, actually. None.
Just one for me. I am currently the liaison to BCO, the Bristol Community Organization, and I normally don't have much of a report from them because they're just an organization that keeps humming along. They do their thing. They don't always have a lot of new and exciting things going on, but I didn't want the year to go by without me saying anything about them. This year marks 50 years since President Johnson declared a war on poverty. BCO is primarily responsible for implementing the federal programs that impact the most vulnerable members of society, like Head Start, etc. They administer our Energy Assistance Program. Representative Chris Wright brought that out a couple weeks ago. He had a press release letting people know that it's time to start thinking about if you do need energy assistance to apply for that. If you're particularly elderly, fixed income folks, that's an important program that's there for you. And BCO is the place where you would go to sign up for energy assistance. While BCO has not been in existence for 50 years here in Bristol, it does have employees that have been part of the organization for 30 and 40 years. And I wanted to take the opportunity to just let you know that one long-term employee, Deidre I'm not going to say this right. Deidre Iredy, there we go, is retiring at the end of September, and she has worked at BCO for almost 40 years. So I just have to congratulate her and thank her for her service. So that's it for BCO. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman?
Two motions to bring forward from Real Estate Committee. I hereby move to grant St. Stan's Church permission to use Bingham School for parking on Saturday, September 13th and Sunday, September 14th, 2014 as an additional parking area for the Dozinki Polish Festival. I further move this matter be referred to the Corporation Council for insurance requirements. I further move the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the same.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Second motion, I hereby move the City of Bristol decline the offer to purchase property located at 23 to 25 High Street in the state of Connecticut pursuant to Section 3-14B-A of the Connecticut General Statutes as provided in correspondence from the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation on August 20, 2014. I further move this matter be referred to Corporation Council to prepare and/or review any necessary documents. I further move that the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the same.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Your Honor, I'd just like to say, from a library committee perspective, the library committee did a lot of due diligence and a lot of hard work brainstorming. Was there anything that they could do with that building? Is there anything that made sense? But it was just too hard to make it work in the end. But thank you to the real estate committee for inviting us out to talk about it and for taking it up for us. And too bad it didn't work out, but maybe another time.
Councilman, let me just add that this is the building right next to the library going up High Street. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anything else?
That's it. Councilman? Council's.
I have a brief code enforcement report. The summer is a very busy month. It's vegetation, growth, property maintenance violations. We're continuing with looking at, on a complaint basis, all the calls that come in. Just since the beginning of the month, there's over 70 complaints new to the Building and Code Enforcement Division. That is not counting any complaints that are being handled specifically by the Health District and or the Fire Department or any of the other agencies that are involved. A quick perusal of the Code Enforcement worksheet today shows everything from overgrown vegetation, dumped debris, sighting issues, deteriorating retaining walls, solid waste fees for lack of barrel collection, demolition issues, garbage in side yards, rat infestation. And I think it shows the spectrum of the fact that everybody's definition of quality of life may be different, but I think that we're definitely being very aggressive. If there's an issue in a neighborhood, regardless of what it is, it's being addressed. And I think that citizens appreciate that communication, and I also think that an offshoot of the attention that's being paid to this issue is that we're also getting a lot of calls from quality investors and landlords who are interested in acquiring some of these properties because I think they see it as an opportunity, and that's definitely something that we want. We get a lot of questions about process, and I think that there are some people who think that there are probably some issues from a due process standpoint where you can just go in and knock down a house. But we are following very close procedures, and I think when it becomes a safety issue, it's what has to be done. And I think the mayor probably wants to address some of that. Do you want to talk about 801 Burlington Avenue? Okay. I'm done with code enforcement if you want.
Let me just touch on 801 Burlington Avenue. 801 Burlington Avenue was the latest property that we took down. Let me just read a little thing that I have here. A number of individuals have questioned why the residence at 801 Burlington Avenue was demolished rather than restored. I believe it is important for people to understand that options are open to the city to address blighted or abandoned properties. This property has been a subject of code enforcement for the past 6 years. The structure has become deteriorated to the point of being unsafe for anyone to occupy the building. Despite many notices to all parties, there was no action taken to resolve these issues. There was no alternative but to board up the structure, the property which has become an attractive nuisance. Prior to demolition, every effort was made to work with the owners and lenders to restore the unsafe structure. Unfortunately, some owners of severely deteriorated buildings are not in a position to even minimally maintain their properties, and lenders often decline to perform necessary maintenance. At that point, a municipality is left with an alternative of ignoring the problem or demolition. The first goal of code enforcement is human safety. The second goal is the preservation of property values in our neighborhoods. All of us would prefer to see blighted properties improved and restored. If no one will step up to do what is necessary, my administration will not hesitate to move forward with corrective action and recover the cost from any property. So that is a little blurb on why 801 Burlington Avenue was taken down, but not only that one, and others. And also, let me add, Councilman, real quick before you get back to reports. The question has been asked, why don't we sell these houses? Why don't we buy them? These houses that are coming down are not controlled by the city. They are controlled by banks. They are controlled by absentee landlords that don't care. We don't own them. We can't sell them. We can't do anything with them other than protect the residents that are either living in them and shouldn't be living in conditions like that, or the neighbors who are living in a blighted neighborhood, such as 801 Burlington Avenue with this house. So when we take down a house, it's left with an empty lot. The questions that I've received is, well, we want to buy the lot, what we can do with the lot. The lots are not ours to own. Liens are put on these properties, and in many instances, if the banks have them, or the residents, if they own them, when these lots are sold, and eventually they will be sold, or we will take them for no taxes, then they will be dealt with through zoning and planning as far as what's going to happen with the lots. So if we own them through real estate, we will put them on sale, but we don't own these lots. We can't control them. We can't do anything but take care of the neighborhoods and people who have to live in them. I'd also like to thank the code enforcement team. They've been working diligently. They've been working nonstop. I know they haven't worked as hard as they are through my administration, so I want to thank Councilman. Thank you.
And we actually are losing a key member of our staff. Billy Wallace, who's the admin in the building office, is taking a different position in City Hall, and she's been passionate about tracking and really has bought into it, and she's going to be have some very big shoes for someone to fill. So publicly, I'd like to thank her for being the epitome of professionalism and really helping all of us keep track of all of the different things that have happened over the past year. Moving on to the Memorial Boulevard Task Force, we had a very productive meeting last night, and two major things happened, which I'd like to update my colleagues on. The first being is we are starting to narrow our focus, and we're actually going to have for you shortly an idea of what we envision as I'm not going to call it a mission statement, but more of a purpose statement, so that all of you, especially if you're getting questions, what's going to happen at the building. There are some people who still believe there are certain options, but based on the Planning Commission and then the task force's charge to do, based on the April Council meeting, we have been operating to build that agenda. And we had a very fruitful meeting last night. We did not vote on it, but people are starting to throw around ideas and wordsmith some things, and it's obviously multi-use. The focus, obviously, is restoration of the theater. We believe that we have some management and financial structures in place that I think will benefit the long-term self-sustainability of that building over time, which I know is important to everyone. And I think the other thing that we did is made a recommendation that we begin private fundraising. We know that people are out there, even people as far away from California, who are supporting the reuse of this building, and we think that it's important to do our fair share with private fundraising. So publicly, we have passed a motion last night, and we are going to be asking to have the Main Street Community Foundation put us on their agenda so that we may establish a charitable fund so that we can begin taking in private dollars to augment our work. In doing so, and following IRS guidelines, we also have to designate an alternate use. In the case of, God forbid, something happens and the charge of this task force is not fulfilled and the project does not continue. We have decided as a group that we have chosen something that we think is very similar and would also benefit the city. So if that were to come to pass, which obviously is not our goal, we have designated the Park Department's charitable fund to receive any monies that would have been left over from anything that we've started and are not able to finish, which is part of what you must do in determining a fund. So we are hopefully going to be on their agenda shortly this month, and we would then be able to go forward and do that type of fundraising. Those fundraising dollars could be used for short-term repairs, for light housekeeping, painting, etc. It could also be used to certify matches for grant funds, which would again augment the pool of money that is available to us. So again, as we've been having these broad-ranging conversations in the past 4 months, we are now starting to focus in, and I think that those are two very important steps as we move forward with that project. One last quick committee report. The Cemetery Commission is putting a different twist on their annual tour that we typically do in the fall, and this year it's going to be a lantern tour at night, which is done in other communities that are very, very popular. It's going to be held at the West Cemetery on Pound Street at the beginning of the Mum Festival weekend, that Friday night with the rain date of Saturday. Free will donations, but we're going to be focusing on 6 significant people from Bristol's past that are buried at West Cemetery, and there's actually going to be actors and actresses in character talking about the lives and the stories of these people and their impact on Bristol. So for those of you who are charting exciting things to do, there's nothing better than a cemetery commission tour.
Yeah? Thank you. Unfinished business, starting with far right.
None.
None.
New business, my far right.
I have one item, and I wasn't sure if I should do it under committee reports, but because it's exciting to a lot of people in the Forestville area, I am just going to put it under new business so everybody's aware that the Frederick Street Bridge construction is beginning in earnest, and the closing dates are going to be October 6th, and there's been a lot of press releases out of the Public Works Department. If anybody wants additional information, they can contact the engineering department, but the summary is as all of you know, the bridge is being replaced, and they're going to be removing the existing bridge, making minor channel improvements along the copper line to enhance the flow through the bridge, and constructing a new bridge. All of this is being performed with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. And I know for many people in that area, this project has been long overdue, and it's great to see it get started.
Also, new business? Councilwoman?
No.
No.
And I have resignations.
There are 5 resignations. The first is from Art Marino from the Pine Lake Area Study Committee. Second is from Christopher Lapkus from the Commission for Persons with Disabilities. Third is from John Letizia from the Retirement Board. Fourth is Dr. William Brownstein from the School Readiness Council. And last but not least, William Stortz from the Mayor's Task Force on Memorial Boulevard.
A motion to accept and send a letter of thank you. So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9. Okay. Building Code Board of Appeals to reappoint Robert Wetland, 5-year term to 8/19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Bristol Historic District Commission to appoint Catherine Matthews to replace Caitlin Humble, Section 2-9 resignation, unexpired term to 1/17.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Bristol Parking Authority to appoint Sean Matt Mawad, replace James Bissell, resigned, no longer Bristol resident, unexpired term to 4/15.
Approved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Retirement Board to appoint Carl Pessell to replace John Letizia, resigned, unexpired term to 7/2007.
Approved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. School Readiness Council, Mayor and Superintendent of Schools appointment to appoint Donna Osich to replace Dr. William Brownstein as co-chair, resigned. To reappoint Jessica Dunn, Bristol Housing Authority representative, term to 8/2016. Bristol Transportation Commission to appoint Frank Fudo to replace Mary Alford, resigned, citizen at large, rep, unexpired term to 1/15.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Assistant Full-Time Corporation Counsel to reappoint Richard Lacey, 5-year term to 9/19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, Attorney Lacey. Okay, that's all we have there. Item number 10.
To amend the motion adopted at the August 13, 2014 City Council meeting regarding the award of the contract 2P1422 Analysis of Communication Systems by specifying the vendor as CDI Infrastructure LLC, doing business as L.R. Kimball instead of their parent company, CDI Corporation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion passes. Item number 11.
Authorization for mayor or acting mayor to execute the fiscal year 2014-2015 Bristol Local Prevention Council grant and any other necessary documents to sponsor initiatives to prevent the use of alcohol, tobacco, and drugs.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item number 12.
Is the approval of a change order for construction of an outbuilding, and I had sent earlier today a change that the Board of Ed had given me yesterday. So that is actually changing to the award of a contract, 2C1458, construction of an outbuilding for the West Bristol School, I believe, and that it is for $71,524, an actual physical dollar amount.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item number 13.
And that, again, is also an approval of a change order for construction of an outbuilding at the, this one is the West Bristol School, but the Forestville School is the same thing. It's 2C14, and the contract number is 59, and the dollar amount is $71,524.
Move approval. Motion made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item 14.
Is award of contract 2C1516, roof replacement at Board of Education Administration Office to Commercial Roofing and Contracting Incorporated for $291,600, and authorization for mayor or acting mayor to execute any necessary documents.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item 15.
Resolution regarding approval to file historic documents preservation grant for $7,500